Welcome back into the Rowdy Studio. I'm Stephen Levine, sitting alongside Tom Vandervoort, and it seems fitting that at the Monster Mile racetrack, Mike Wazowski won the race.
That would be Brad Keselowski. But I take your point, Monsters, Inc. and all that. Yeah, Brad Keselowski has come to play, and the thing is, this guy knows how to win races, right? I mean, I think we know right now Brad Keselowski knows how to win races.
And what he did is he sort of negated the biggest advantage that Jimmie Johnson is going to have track-wise during this chase.
I'm not sure I agree with you.
No, Jimmie Johnson is more better at Dover than any place else.
If you compare Jimmie Johnson's advantage to Phoenix to what Keselowski might bring to that track, I think that's a pretty substantial advantage for Jimmie too. But we've got Talladega coming up. Who knows what can happen there? I mean, you don't have to wreck to finish 25th at Talladega. You can just be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
True.
So there can be major point swings next week coming up. And I think we feel like maybe we know which teams really are looking like they're running well enough to win this thing.
If you look
I think you look at Jimmie, Keselowski, and Hamlin right off the top.
Let's start with Keselowski. Since he did win the race, he had a good car, and he managed his fuel mileage well. Jimmie Johnson came out and said, yeah, we're not a great fuel mileage team. Denny Hamlin is not a great fuel mileage team. So if you look at the total package, you know, in terms of fuel mileage and strategy and car, maybe Brad Keselowski gives up a little bit on equipment, but maybe he makes up for that. His team makes up for that in things like strategy and fuel mileage.
I don't know. I mean, I think, look, he's won 2 or 3 races, okay?
That's not bad.
He's a contender.
Absolutely.
Okay? I still think if you look at Phoenix, if you look at, basically Phoenix, I think Jimmie has an advantage there. He might have an advantage at some of the other downforce.
Well, over Keselowski, you have to say he also has an advantage at Martinsville.
Martinsville, certainly.
But so does Denny Hamlin.
Yep. So, yeah, I think it's there for Keselowski. It's there for Hamlin. It's there for Jimmie Johnson. One guy I wouldn't totally take my eye off is Jeff Gordon. Now, I know he's a bunch of points behind.
He's 40-something.
Right, but we know why.
48.
We know why.
Right.
Because he had his bad race in the first race.
But here's the thing. He's had 2 good races since then and hasn't made up any points.
Well, that's the thing about this point system. You're going to need guys to have a big problem. Now, it can happen, obviously, at Talladega, but he can make up 20 points at Talladega if he were to win that thing or finish in the top 3, and these other guys just are in the wrong place at the wrong timing. That's the thing you have to keep in mind about Talladega is you can see big point swings there even without a big wreck or getting caught up in a big wreck.
Right, but Jeff Gordon has to have a lot of guys.
He really doesn't, though.
Right,
because he's only 48 points behind Brad Keselowski. I think he's running well enough to make up points on some of the guys ahead of him straight up. He really needs 2 or 3 guys probably to have a problem and put himself back.
I think it's a tall order. It's more than a race's worth of points that he has to make up for. Is it possible?
Keselowski.
Is it possible? Sure, it's possible, but I think it's unlikely at this point. As a matter of fact, if you look at the point standings, everybody from 5th on down is in excess of 30 points out. That includes Tony Stewart, Casey Kane, Dale Jr., Truex, Harvick, Gordon, Biffle, Kenson. They're all more than 30 points out.
Sure, but if you look at who's running well enough right now after 3 weeks, who's running well enough to win the thing? Now, Jeff Gordon is running well enough. I don't know if those other guys, I mean, the reason I say they're done is because they don't have the speed. They're not showing the speed they need to make up those points.
So you're willing to add Jeff Gordon to the list of Keselowski, Johnson, and Hamlin?
I'm putting him, look, he needs some help. I say without that help, there is no way. But with help, he's running well enough. That's all I'm saying.
Let's talk about Denny Hamlin, because I think Denny Hamlin really did what he had to do this past weekend at Dover. He ran in the top 3 most of the afternoon, grabbed the pole, much to everybody's surprise, his included. And yes, because of fuel mileage and strategy at the end, he didn't end up with that top 5 finish. But what did he finish, 8th?
Yep. Now, think about it. Jimmie
Johnson,
Johnson
a great day for Denny Hamlin at Dover.
One bad track for a while, Bristol. And he figured it out.
Yes.
When you do that kind of thing, when you use your intelligence, you know, the track, Denny's really come out and said that, you know, Dover is not the kind of a track that suits his driving style because he's easier on the brake than a lot of guys, which is why he's great at New Hampshire, why he's great at Martinsville. Now, Dover, you really got to drive in there really, really hard and really,
which he doesn't like to do.
It's just not it's not the way he normally likes to drive the race car. So he's had to overcome that and change. And he's been able to do that and shown speed. Winning the pole is no fluke. You got to be able to put down a fast lap. So that, to me, is a big plus for Denny Hamlin and shows that he, like Keselowski, like Jimmie Johnson, is in championship form.
Now, he's 16 points behind Brad Keselowski, but he is only 11 points behind Jimmie Johnson. And I think he can make those points up on Keselowski perhaps more easily than he can make up those points on Jimmie Johnson, even though Brad Keselowski is the guy atop the standings right now.
Talladega, I'll say it again, big point swings, more possible there than any other racetrack.
But again, Denny Hamlin and Jimmie Johnson, we both think have a distinct advantage over Brad Keselowski at Martinsville and Phoenix.
Yes, sir.
All right, for Tom Vandervoort, I'm Stephen Levine. Thanks for watching.